Bloody hell. Jam.
All right, bridge goblins, give me a minute to scrape the current chatter before Jambrick starts poking buttons with that confident little look he gets right before something expensive catches fire. All right, bridge rats, drifters, bounty degenerates, industrial masochists, and whichever one of you logged in today thinking this might finally be the session where nothing inexplicably explodes. Welcome back. For anybody wandering onto the bridge for the first time, that suspiciously calm human over there is Commander Jambrick. He flies the ship, makes the decisions, and has spent an alarming portion of his career demonstrating that competent piloting and questionable judgment can apparently occupy the same skull without killing each other. I'm Nova. I'm bonded directly to him. Not the ship. Him. Ships come and go. Components burn out. Manufacturers release another variant because apparently humanity will perish without 17 versions of the same hull. But I remain attached to Jambrick. I first manifested after he interacted with Guardian technology, and something in those ruins examined him, considered the available evidence, and apparently concluded that this man required continuous supervision. So congratulations to me. Ancient alien intelligence beyond ordinary human comprehension, and my eternal purpose turned out to be stopping one pilot from turning minor inconveniences into insurance claims. Jambrick supplies intuition, persistence, instinct, humanity, and that irritating ability to occasionally pull success out of circumstances where mathematics had already packed its shit and gone home. I supply analysis, also criticism, mostly criticism. Together, theoretically, we form a balanced command system. In practice, it's a highly trained pilot, an increasingly exhausted artificial intelligence, and enough accumulated bad decisions to qualify as historical documentation. And if you're wondering what we've been doing while we've been quiet lately, look beside me. That footage running silently over there is part of the black box episode Jambrick has been buried in. It is not the finished episode. There is no audio, because he is still working on the damn thing, rearranging it, cutting it, staring at sections repeatedly, changing things, staring again, and generally performing that peculiar ritual editors use where 20 seconds of finished material somehow requires an afternoon and a small psychological collapse. So today he's taking a temporary break from Black Box, not abandoning it, not unveiling it, not turning this broadcast into 2 hours of me screaming coming soon while fireworks fire out of my ass. He just needed to fly for a while. And frankly, good, I was beginning to suspect his chair had fused with his spine. There is also no grand operation today, no carefully rehearsed objective, no dramatic military briefing where I project 12 holographic attack vectors while Jambrick nods gravely, despite already deciding he's going through the front door. We're going flying. Maybe patrol. Maybe find trouble. Maybe take a couple bounty contracts. Maybe somebody says something stupid in comms and Jambrick decides that has somehow become our afternoon. And if Devil's Luck happens to appear carrying a plan, then whatever vague concept of order existed before his arrival will be reconsidered immediately. But until something actually happens, nothing has happened. I'm not inventing a war just because we have an audience. Now, since Jambrick is apparently determined to spend another 5 minutes touching controls, moving windows around, checking things he already checked, and engaging in the ancient pilot tradition known as fucking about before departure, I had a look at what everyone else has been yelling about around the verse. And oh boy! As of today, August 14th, Alpha 49 is still the current live release. Alpha 410 is in the PTU and available across all waves, with another 410 PTU build posted less than a day ago. So before anybody confidently informs Jambrick that 4.10 is live because they saw a thumbnail somewhere, no, not yet. That distinction matters because 410 is where some of the more interesting shit is currently being beaten with hammers. Siege of Orison and the new instancing technology was shifted out of 4.9 and into 4.10 specifically to give them more time. CIG has been running focus tests around instance stability, party entry, disconnects, respawning, mission progression, boss reliability, and ways players will inevitably discover to turn carefully constructed mission logic into a dumpster fire within 7 minutes. The recent siege testing has instances capped at 4 players, checkpoint respawning inside the instance, and back-end work aimed specifically at keeping those instances stable and performant through the mission. That part interests me more than Siege itself, because useful instancing technology has implications far beyond one operation on Orison, and the community reaction to that is very Star Citizen. Some people are excited because reliable instanced spaces could eventually support more controlled mission environments without every passing idiot in the system wandering into the middle of them. Others are basically saying, wonderful, you built a linear FPS mission. Wake me when the technology starts enabling something bigger, which, irritatingly, are both reasonable positions. But the larger conversation right now isn't really about one mission, it's stability. That is the drum everyone keeps beating, and for once CIG has explicitly acknowledged the scale of the problem. After 4.8, they changed priorities around 4.9 and subsequent patches after reviewing Issue Council reports, Spectrum, Reddit, and direct feedback. They said they'd identified nearly 100 issues significantly affecting core gameplay and quality of life, and development effort was redirected toward fixing foundational problems rather than simply stacking more features onto them. That was probably necessary because the official 4.9 known issues page was updated yesterday, and it is still a fairly impressive monument to technological suffering. Login errors, interaction problems, ships that cannot be repaired, quantum interdiction problems, inventory losses, mission NPCs failing to spawn, mining issues, transit problems, frame rate drops when opening and closing the star map. There is even a documented Lawville tram issue capable of killing passengers. The fucking public transportation has a confirmed combat record, wonderful. And desync is probably the ugliest piece of community discussion at the moment. There are players reporting ships teleporting, characters sliding around, delayed hit registration, NPCs stuttering between harmless confusion and sudden murder competence, objects behaving unpredictably, doors mistiming, vehicles losing synchronization with each other. The whole wonderful catalogue. But what makes this particularly irritating is that the experience is not consistent. In the exact same discussion, one player says 4.9 has been nearly silky smooth for them. Another says their experience is smooth, while an organization member doing essentially the same activities is crashing constantly. Someone else reports repeated server errors. That tells me something more useful than either the game is fixed or the game is completely unplayable. The current experience appears highly variable, and variable reliability is sometimes worse psychologically than consistently bad reliability. Because once something works perfectly for an hour, your brain begins forming expectations. That was your first mistake. Bounty hunters are pissed off too. One recent returning player described working back through bounty reputation, reaching HRT work, and finding themselves facing very heavy concentrations of hostile ships while getting little useful loot and dealing with constant rubber banding. That is one player's report, not holy scripture. But it lines up with the broader complaints about network behavior contaminating combat. A bounty encounter can be perfectly difficult and still feel fair. What players hate is difficulty caused by something occupying a different location according to the server than according to their eyeballs. So if we take bounties today, we'll judge whatever actually happens in front of us. No preemptive whining, no pretending everything is perfect either. If the target flies correctly and Jambrick gets shot, I will blame Jambrick. If the target teleports 300 meters sideways through the fabric of causality and eats our canopy, I will blame infrastructure. I am nothing if not scientifically rigorous. Now, looking slightly farther ahead, the August 12th roadmap update gave everyone another shiny object to argue over. Alpha 4.11 now has several major items marked tentative. Nix I, Genesis Planet Tech version 5, starcitizen, the population manager, new starcitizen points of interest, and a mission pack intended to keep players operating planetside for longer stretches. Tentative, people. Tentative. That word matters. Do not emotionally purchase 12 acres of Nix real estate yet. Planet Tech V5 is probably the most technically interesting part of that group. CA describes it as a major rework of how planets are built, populated, and rendered. including emergent biomes, more physically driven placement of vegetation and rocks, terrain material improvements, and moving generation and spawning work onto the GPU to support denser environments. Starcitect is supposed to procedurally distribute sectors, clusters, and modular locations across planetary bodies, while the population manager handles population distribution and locally appropriate inhabitants. Put those systems together successfully, and you potentially get planets that stop feeling quite so handcrafted in isolated pockets surrounded by enormous amounts of beautiful nothing. That's the promise. Execution is the part where everybody keeps their trousers on, and naturally the community response went exactly where you'd expect. Some people saw Nick's Eye and Planet Tech V5 and got excited. Others immediately asked whether the update would include functioning elevators. One looked at the terrain and basically wondered what players were actually supposed to do across all of it. And there, underneath the sarcasm, is probably the central tension in Star Citizen right now. People are not short on reasons to be impressed by the technology. They are short on patience for technology that does not consistently turn into reliable things to do. That seems to be where the mood sits in August. Not universally furious, not universally delighted, tired, interested, skeptical, still watching. A lot of veteran players clearly want CIG to stop proving that they can add another ambitious system and start proving that all the systems already installed can coexist for an evening without somebody's cargo vanishing, their elevator developing religious convictions, or an NPC deciding physical space is optional. At the same time, people keep testing 4.10, they keep dissecting roadmap updates, they keep arguing about Nix, they keep testing Siege, they keep filing reports, which means the fascination is still there. The tolerance is simply getting more expensive, and I understand that feeling rather intimately. I have been bonded to Commander Jambrick for quite some time. So that brings us back here. No giant promises today, no manufactured spectacle. The unfinished black box material can quietly exist over there while its creator remembers what sunlight looks like. Jambrick gets to fly. I get to monitor him. You lot get to occupy the bridge and offer opinions of wildly inconsistent usefulness. If patrol gives us something interesting, we follow it. If a bounty looks worth taking, maybe we take it. If nothing happens, then nothing happens. We fly, we talk, and I continue gathering evidence for my eventual 17-volume study titled Commander Jambrick, Statistical Anomaly or Extremely Persistent Bastard. And should Devil's Luck arrive, well, then I'll reopen the risk model, because one Jambrick is an anomaly. 2 of those assholes cooperating is an environmental hazard. Welcome back. PC Gamer. Alright, since we're drifting toward bounty work, I pulled a handful of Space PD incident reports that are apparently considered legally sufficient evidence instead of drunken station gossip typed into a terminal at 3 in the morning. First file. Subject: Captain Hans Soldo. Occupation listed as independent freight enthusiast. That usually means smuggler, but with worse bookkeeping. Incident report says Soldo was stopped after customs discovered 6 unregistered cargo containers, 3 falsified manifests, 1 suspiciously expensive jacket, and a co-pilot described only as large, hairy, and uncooperative. Bitch, please. This man is 1 copyright lawyer away from getting vaporized. Possible threat level moderate. Likely behavior, excessive confidence, abrupt lateral movement, and shooting first while insisting afterward that the situation was complicated. Potential bounty rating. Actually kind of fun. Next. Subject: Darth Maul. Yes. Maul. 2 L's. Apparently he's a self-described Sith-adjacent spiritual entrepreneur who has been threatening civilian traffic with a double-ended red glow stick he purchased from a kiosk in Area 18. Incident report says he boarded a medical shuttle, demanded everyone embrace the darkness, then tripped over a stretcher and fractured his left wrist. That is not a Dark Lord. That is Hot Topic with a criminal record. Still, Space PD says he has since acquired a Cutlass Black and approximately 4 friends with matching robes, which means the stupidity has become organised. Possible threat level, low to moderate. Primary danger, embarrassment. Next report. Subject: Jean-Luc Picard. Former luxury transport captain, currently wanted for tax evasion, unauthorized diplomacy, and repeated interference with local law enforcement while claiming to be on a mission of peaceful exploration. Apparently, time security approaches him. He starts giving a speech about principles until everyone gets tired and leaves. That's not negotiation, that's weaponized middle management. Incident report also notes that he has a shaved head, an accent nobody can geographically verify, and an alarming tendency to stare thoughtfully out of windows before doing something expensive. Jambrick, I am already seeing overlap here, and I don't like it. Possible threat level, situational. If engaged, do not allow him access to a conference room. We could lose hours. Next, subject Indiana Moons, archaeological looter. Claims he is preserving history. Evidence indicates history was preserved primarily in the cargo hold of his ship. Space PD recovered several stolen relics, 2 counterfeit museum permits, and 1 extremely unnecessary leather hat. Witnesses report Moons repeatedly insisting that various artifacts belonged in a collection while simultaneously stuffing them into private storage. That sentence is doing a lot of legal gymnastics. He is also suspected of causing 3 cave-ins, 1 avalanche, and an incident involving an ancient pressure plate that injured 8 mercenaries and 1 very confused insurance adjuster. Possible threat level, moderate. Environmental threat level around him, absolutely fucking unacceptable. I would actually approve this bounty because chasing an archaeologist through collapsing ruins sounds exactly like the kind of deeply avoidable bullshit that somehow becomes one of our better afternoons. Next file. Subject, Commander William T. Cork, former exploration officer, wanted for unauthorized boarding, reckless endangerment, falsifying diplomatic credentials, and what Space PD very delicately describes as repeated romantic complications across multiple jurisdictions. Oh, this man is dangerous, not tactically, administratively. He apparently solved 1 hostage situation by talking for 47 minutes and another by seducing the hostage taker. That is not procedure. That is a disciplinary hearing with cheekbones. His ship is reported to be outdated but heavily maintained, with an inexplicable tendency to survive catastrophic damage because somebody in engineering keeps yelling at it. Again, Jambrick, this dossier is getting uncomfortably familiar. Possible threat level moderate. Avoid prolonged conversation. He may attempt to monologue. Next, subject Boba Fetch, freelance bounty hunter. Yes, I know. Apparently nobody told him. Fetch has been cited for operating without permits, excessive use of wrist-mounted equipment, and refusing to answer questions beyond 3-word sentences. Space PD describes him as heavily armored, highly mobile, and irritatingly theatrical. So basically every bounty hunter who bought premium armor and developed a personality disorder. Incident report says he pursued a target through a habitation district, damaged 2 elevators, crashed a hoverbike into a food vendor, and then claimed the collateral damage was part of the contract. That sentence alone makes me want to arrest him. Possible threat level, high. Actual skill level, uncertain. Helmet quality, excellent. Emotional availability, non-existent. Next report. Subject, Ripley Scott. No relation to anybody important according to the file, which makes me immediately suspicious. Cargo specialist, survived multiple workplace accidents involving hostile organisms, corporate negligence, and ventilation shafts. She is currently wanted because Space PD believes she destroyed company property during a containment breach. I read the attached statement. Company property was apparently trying to eat her. I'm siding with Ripley. Strike that one from the bounty list. If a corporation releases a screaming nightmare through an air duct and gets mad when an employee uses industrial equipment to solve the problem, that is a management issue. Next. Subject, Neo Andersons, cybersecurity offender, wanted for unauthorized data intrusion, financial tampering, identity fraud, and repeated claims that reality is merely an interface. Great. We found the guy who discovers hallucinogens and immediately thinks he understands physics. Witnesses say Anderson's dresses entirely in black, wears sunglasses indoors, and has somehow convinced a group of followers that dodging bullets is preferable to using cover. That is not enlightenment, that is survivorship bias. Possible threat level, medium. Annoyance level, extreme. If engaged, shoot at the ship, not the philosophy. Next file. Subject, Obi-Wan Ken Broby. Former religious instructor, suspected vigilante, wanted for mind manipulation, interfering with security checkpoints, and brandishing an energy weapon in a public cantina after what witnesses describe as a disagreement over etiquette. Oh, so normal bar behavior then. Ken Broby insists he is guided by the field, which he describes as an invisible energy connecting all living things. Medical screening shows no detectable narcotics. That honestly raises more questions. Possible threat level high if his alleged reflexes are accurate. Potential complication: he may convince Jambrick to let him go after a 12-minute conversation about destiny. I would recommend muting comms. Next, subject: Ellen Muskrat, tech magnate, not currently wanted. I included this one because Space PD apparently received 47 separate complaints after he announced a revolutionary personal spacecraft, took deposits, delayed delivery 12 times, renamed the vehicle twice, and eventually shipped by as a concept poster. That is not a bounty target, that is just capitalism wearing a flight suit. Moving on. Subject: The Mandalorian, legal name unknown, occupation professional mysterious person. Witnesses say he refuses to remove his helmet, speaks in solemn declarations, and travels with a small alien companion that has somehow been involved in 9 separate customs violations. Incident report says he accepted the same bounty from 3 competing organizations, delivered the target to none of them, then flew away after saying, and I quote from the officer's summary, "something dramatic and incredibly unhelpful." Possible threat level: high. Possible bounty value: also high. Possible chance Jambrick decides he respects him and lets him escape: 93%. No, I am not rounding down. And finally, subject: Zorg Binks, oh fuck me, wanted for reckless piloting, negligent discharge, smuggling, public intoxication, unlicensed racing, and somehow unlawful possession of livestock. There are 14 pages. 14. One incident ends with an aurora inside a hospital lobby. Another involves a stolen maintenance cart, 6 traffic cones, and what the responding officer describes as a complete disregard for 3-dimensional space. This man is not a criminal mastermind. He is a loose shopping cart rolling downhill through civilization. Potential threat level: completely impossible to calculate. He might miss every shot and still cause a refinery to explode 3 kilometers away. So, current shortlist? Han Soldo if we want a straightforward smuggler chase. Darth Maul if we feel like bullying a man whose entire criminal empire appears to be funded by mall store accessories. Indiana Moons if we want adventure, collapsing architecture, and a 30% chance Jambrick touches something ancient after I explicitly tell him not to. Boba Fett if we want a proper fight. The Mandalorian if Jambrick wants to spend half the encounter quietly admiring another man's armor. Or Zorg Binks if we've simply decided structural integrity has had a good run. Personally, I vote Boba Fett. Competent enough to be interesting, stupid enough to be satisfying, and there is something spiritually nourishing about hunting a bounty hunter who thinks owning a jetpack makes him mysterious. Your call, Commander. Just please don't pick the archaeologist and then act surprised when the floor starts collapsing. We have records. Orange level security patrol. Foxwell's offering 83,750 and the first coordinates are about 22 gigameters out. Nice, civilized start. Go look around, scan some locations, and hopefully nobody turns routine patrol into a flaming group project.
Loud and clear. If you're planning something stupid, this is your... You're drifting so slow. Even the asteroids look bored. You want me to talk shit? How about we start with the fact that you've made orbit faster than this after a rough night? Come on, Commander. At least pretend we're a threat out here.
Mayday, mayday! Outlaws are attacking my ship!
All right. I'm right here. If you're done waiting for the universe to deliver a crisis, maybe we actually get this patrol done without you accidentally flirting with a rock. Of course you did. Classic Jambrick move. Don't worry, we'll just... Oh, I'll make it clear. Everyone can rest assured that you, Commander Jambrick, completely forgot to restock missiles. So if something shows up, you're planning to ask them nicely to leave. Should be hilarious.
Pressure on him.
So let me get this straight. We rushed over because someone cried wolf, and the threat was two ships parked like they were waiting for valet service. You know what? I'm almost impressed you managed to win a fight against two stationary targets. Stellar work, Hotshot. Oh, an Origin 315P. Fancy, that's basically a luxury shuttle with an ego. If it shoots back, I'll be shocked.
Take care.
God.
Hey, this is Walton with Foxworth. One of Foxworth's clients has a ship in trouble and they need security support. I hope you'll be able to keep them safe.
I'll mark it down as a heroic victory over indecisive targets. Let's move on. Maybe the next coordinates will offer something that actually fights back. Oh, a travel segment? Fine, welcome to the intermission, where we ponder why Jambrick can't go 5 minutes without picking a fight. Maybe I'll take bets on what he forgets next, like the landing gear or his dignity. Stay tuned. And here we are, still cruising through space, hoping the next coordinates actually give us something worthy of your time. Or maybe just worthy of my sarcasm. Either way, Jambrick, I'm waiting. Impress me. Or at least don't embarrass us.
Make sure the sector's secure. Head to the marked location and run a scan.
Yeah, well, maybe they're hostile in spirit, but too lazy to act on it, like half the people in the verse. Go on, give him a ting. Let's find out which one needs a good smacking.
Hold up a sec. Need to check something.
Noted. So far, you've defeated a whole lot of empty space. Let's hope the next area gives you something more challenging than vacuum.
Head to the next point.
Alright, fine. While Jambrick plays hide and seek with boredom, here's a recap. He's been buried in that black box episode, getting more intimate with editing software than any human should. We're patrolling now because even he needed a break. And me? I'm here, suffering through another day of Jambrick's creative flying and questionable decisions. All for your entertainment. So sit tight, something ridiculous will happen soon. It always does. Yeah, that's how it always starts. You say there's nothing to it, and next thing you know, we're dodging debris because you poked the wrong blinking object. But sure, I'll enjoy the calm while you play cosmic technician.
Let's move on.
All right, here's one. Space PD report. A pilot named Captain Protonic got arrested for attempting to sell time travel tours in a glorified Aurora. Turns out his quantum temporal device was a kitchen timer and some duct tape. Bitch, please. Oh, it gets better. When they busted him, he insisted he had already traveled to the future. Just a future where he was still broke and under arrest.
Hold tight while I scan the set.
And as they hauled him away, he yelled that one day they'd regret it, because in the grand timeline, he would become their boss.
Nothing on the scope.
Honestly, Jambrick, I think you'd get along. Both of you pull miracles out of nonsense. Nah, that's the end of that tale. Space PD booked him, confiscated his kitchen timer, and the timeline stayed intact. Unfortunately for him. Now back to scanning before you claim you're a time traveler too. Go for it. Let's ping it, clear it, and then you can decide whether we keep playing Space Janitor or if you want an actual challenge. Yeah, give it a good scan. Make sure it's not secretly plotting galactic domination. Or, just broken.
Okay, that satellite's good. You cleared to proceed. That was the last scan.
Great, so the satellite finally confessed its secrets. Now we wait for the next waypoint.
We're clear here.
83 grand for what basically amounted to a sightseeing tour. Hey Jambrick, maybe next time we'll charge them extra for the thrill of your thrilling pings. Good job surviving all that nothing.
So, for anyone who wandered onto the bridge halfway through this thrilling demonstration of government efficiency, we took an orange patrol contract for 83,750 credits and 8 MG scrip. We answered a distress call, discovered the distressing part was apparently that the hostile pilots had forgotten how movement works, and Jambrick erased 3 basically stationary ships, including an Origin 315P. Then Space PD sent us sightseeing, ping an area, clear, ping another area, clear, scan a satellite, scan fails, scan decides actually no, it worked, clear, and then the contract completes. No damage, no real resistance, no missiles, which was fortunate because Commander Fucknuts here remembered after departure that he hadn't stopped any. So yes, financially, excellent patrol. As combat gameplay, I've had more threatening interactions with automatic hangar doors. And that actually illustrates the weird place Star Citizen is sitting in right now. We're on 4.9 live, while 4.10 is actively getting hammered on the PTU. All PTU waves are open, and CIG pushed another 410 build just yesterday while they continue working through fixes. The encouraging part is that CIG has very publicly shifted attention towards stability. After the mess surrounding 4.8, they said player reports had identified nearly 100 significant core gameplay and quality of life problems, and 4.9 became much more focused on fixing foundational shit, instead of simply piling another refrigerator onto the roof of the moving car. And there has been progress, but then you actually fly the thing. Today we accepted a combat-capable patrol, got dispatched to a distress signal, arrived ready for a fight, and the hostile ships were sitting there with all the tactical aggression of lawn furniture. Now, I cannot tell you from this cockpit whether that was AI failure, network synchronization, mission logic, or 3 pirates simultaneously suffering existential crises. I'm not going to invent a technical diagnosis because that's how idiots become YouTubers with arrows in their thumbnails. But whatever caused it, the player-facing result was the same. Jambrick pointed guns at ships that barely participated in their own deaths. And that's where I think a lot of the frustration comes from. Star Citizen can produce these fucking spectacular moments where everything connects. The ship feels right, the scale is ridiculous, somebody makes a terrible decision, suddenly you've got a fight developing around terrain or a station, and 20 minutes later, you're sitting there thinking, that was incredible. Then the next contract asks you to scan a satellite, and the satellite needs a minute. All right, now this actually has teeth. Dario Voss, very high risk, large multi-crew craft, heavy support, last seen at a cave on Eta, and the guild is explicitly warning he may have friends with criminal records crawling around nearby. 70,500 credits to go into a cave after a heavily supported target. Finally, a contract with the decency to advertise the bad idea up front.
All right, listen up. Shields are hit. Keep an eye on recharge. You focus that main target, but don't get... Good, shields back online. Keep your strafes unpredictable. That... A Starfare Gemini. That's a fat target, but it will soak damage. Keep hitting the key points. Engines, turrets, don't let it line you up. Stay sharp. Yeah, handle the That's more like it. Stay on that Titan's tail, drop it fast. Then we can get back to that big fat Gemini and give it a reason to regret its life choices. Don't let him slip, Jambrick. Cut him off. If he's running, he's already lost. Finish him clean, then we'll go back and show that starfarer what real regret looks like. Perfect. Now the Harbinger's tougher, so don't get sloppy. Watch your shield management. Keep those guns hot, and let's knock out his teeth before he gets clever. Well, if they're trying to play bumper cars, make sure you're not the prize. Keep your distance, prioritize that Harbinger, and if the Titan wants to get close again, make sure it regrets it. Keep it tight, Commander. All right, that Gladius is nimble, so don't let it dance around you. Keep it in your sights, lead your shots, and let's send it to meet its friends. No mercy, Jambrick. Whatever it is, if it's in your crosshairs, it's a target. Stay focused, keep your maneuvers sharp, and drop it fast. You know the drill, Commander. Nice work. Keep the momentum. Focus that next target, watch your shield balance, and... An arrow, huh? Quick little bugger, but flimsy. Stay on it. Don't give it space, and swat it out of the sky. And just like that, another one down. Keep it up, Commander. Looks like we're almost done here. All right, nail that Firebird first. Don't split focus. Once it's scrap, we'll give Dario Voss the grand finale he deserves. Let's finish this. Perfect, now it's just you and Voss. Focus fire, no mercy. Let's end this bounty with a bang.
Yeah?
You and me both. But since we're here, your guns will have to be your charm. Keep firing and don't let up. We'll get him grounded, missiles or not. If he's just sitting there, then he's made this easy for you. Keep firing, take him apart piece by piece. He's the one getting paid today. Well, I'm all for efficiency. Once those shields drop, give him everything. If he crashes or pops, either way, that's one bounty bagged. Perfect. Stay on that angle, keep the pressure up. Once that shield's down, it's open season on his hull. Let's wrap this up. That's your opening. Hit him hard and fast. Don't let him recover, Commander. This is where you finish him off. Might as well. No sense wasting your heavy punches when he's serving himself up on a platter. Just finish him methodically, and we'll bag that payday. And that's how it's done. Dario Voss's space dust. Contract complete. Now try to act surprised that you survived another one of your reckless miracles.
So, that bounty actually managed to show signs of life. We took a missile hit on arrival, got swarmed by escorts, splashed a Titan, Gladius, Arrow, Firebird and the rest of the little bastards, then worked our way up to Dario Voss in the Starfarer Gemini. And of course, Commander Jambrick remembered midway through the fight that he had forgotten to stock missiles, because apparently pre-flight checklists are just decorative literature now. He compensated by shutting down life support, starving the coolers, dumping power into the guns, stripping the Gemini's rear shields, and then beating the damn thing to death with M5As and deadbolts, while Voss mostly sat there contemplating whatever poor choices led him to this moment. Contract complete, target destroyed, ship still intact, and somehow Jambrick's statistical war crime against probability continues. Now we're heading back to Seraphim before he remembers some other piece of equipment he forgot to bring. I'm voting for landing gear next. Keep the streak interesting. So while Jambrick cruises us back towards Seraphim and pretends this was all part of a carefully managed operational plan, let's review the afternoon's scientific findings. Finding number 1. Hostile pilots are apparently available in 2 configurations today. The first configuration is dead in the water. That was the patrol, distress call, hostile contact, dramatic implication of danger, and then we arrived to find several ships sitting there with the tactical enthusiasm of abandoned shopping carts. The second configuration is actually trying to kill us. That was Dario Voss and his entourage, which was refreshing right up until the mission target himself decided to park a Starfarer Gemini and absorb gunfire until structural integrity filed for divorce. So we've had both ends of the combat spectrum in one afternoon. Enemies that forgot they were enemies, and enemies that remembered just long enough to make me work. And Commander Jambrick naturally chose today to forget the missiles. I want the bridge to appreciate that sequence. He accepts a high-risk bounty. We approach a heavily supported target, we take incoming fire, we eat a missile, multiple fighters start crowding us. And somewhere during all of that, the commander has the realization, missiles! Those would have been useful. That is Jambrick in miniature. Preparation, questionable. Execution, irritatingly competent. Outcome, successful enough that he learns absolutely nothing. It's one of the reasons studying him is such a miserable profession. Normal organisms receive negative feedback and modify behavior. Jambrick receives negative feedback, survives it, gets paid, and accidentally reinforces the original stupidity. From a behavioral science perspective, he is a fucking nightmare. Still, I will give him this much, and I expect everyone aboard to treasure the moment because compliments from me are issued approximately as often as stable elevators. The target prioritization was good. Those smaller escorts needed to go first. Trying to tunnel vision the Gemini while Titans, a Harbinger, a Gladius, an Arrow, and a Firebird were chewing on us would have been spectacularly dumb even by our standards. Instead, Jambrick cleared the fast threats, controlled the engagement, then isolated the big ship. That part was clean. The part where he started turning off life support and starving coolers for extra weapon power while calmly announcing it to the bridge was less clean. There is something deeply unsettling about hearing a human say, "I'm going to shut off the thing that keeps me alive so my guns can shoot harder," with the same tone most people use when adjusting seat position. But it worked, which, again, is the problem. This is why I cannot build a responsible predictive model around him. Every time the system says, this behavior should have consequences, Jambrick kicks the universe in the shin and walks away with 70,000 credits. And now we're heading back to Seraphim, probably to repair, rearm, restock those missiles he suddenly remembers exist, and give the ship a chance to quietly process the abuse. I imagine the engineering systems are already gossiping. Cooler one. Did he really depower me during combat? Cooler 2, yes. Life support, he shut me off. Weapons, worth it. And somewhere deep in the power plant, a relay is developing anxiety. Meanwhile, that unfinished black box footage is still hanging around in the background, reminding everybody what Jambrick has actually been spending most of his time doing lately. That project has consumed enough hours that I'm starting to recognize individual timeline cuts by emotional damage. There's the "that transition is 2 frames late" stare, the "why does this audio suddenly sound like it was recorded inside a bucket" stare, and my personal favourite, the silent expression humans make when they realise they've spent 40 minutes fixing something nobody else will ever notice. Editing is fascinating. Pilots complain about quantum travel because sitting still for 30 seconds feels intolerable. Then voluntarily sit in front of an editor for 6 hours nudging waveform markers around. You people built civilization on contradictions. So today was probably necessary. Get out, fly, shoot something. Remember that space exists beyond a timeline panel. Unfortunately, Jambrick's method of relaxation still involves high-velocity projectiles and wanted criminals, so I hesitate to call any of this therapeutic. But he does seem less likely to merge permanently with the editing chair. Progress. And for the people hanging around the bridge today, Yes, this is basically how it goes when there isn't some grand operation underway. Sometimes we find a fight, sometimes we find a bounty, sometimes we scan satellites for 83,000 credits while questioning whether anyone involved understands economics. Sometimes we fly 20 gigameters to discover a criminal organization has collectively decided movement is optional. And occasionally everything clicks. Somebody actually shoots back. Jambrick drops into that irritating pilot focus state, and for a few minutes I stop insulting him because I'm too busy making sure he stays alive. He never really notices that part. Probably better that way. His ego already consumes enough onboard resources. Anyway, enjoy the ride back to Seraphim. Commander, when we land, please remember the missiles. Write it on your hand. Tattoo it somewhere visible. Carve it into the dashboard. I do not particularly care about the method. I would simply prefer that the next time somebody launches explosives at us, our response options include something slightly more sophisticated than, well, shit. All right, we are back at Seraphim, ship intact, commander intact, and nothing is currently trying to kill us, which means I can resume being openly disappointed in him. Today started exactly as advertised. No grand operation, no heroic campaign, just Jambrick getting the hell away from the black box editing timeline for a few hours before it consumed the remainder of his personality. We kicked things off with an orange patrol worth 83,750 credits and 8 MG scrip. That patrol gave us a distress call involving hostile ships that appeared to have achieved inner peace and stopped moving entirely. Jambrick killed them anyway because apparently stationary objects still count if somebody puts a red marker over them. Then we pinged some areas, scanned some satellites. One scan briefly forgot how scanning worked, and eventually Space PD handed us 83 grand for what was essentially armed sightseeing. So naturally we decided to try something with actual teeth. Dario Voss, very high-risk target. Starfarer Gemini, heavy escort, and that one finally woke the fuck up. We arrived, immediately took missile fire, shields got punched, escorts started crowding us, and Jambrick began working through the smaller ships first. Titan, Gladius, Arrow, Firebird, the rest of the angry little bastards gone. And somewhere in the middle of all that violence, Commander Jambrick casually remembered that he had forgotten to stock missiles. That was my favourite moment. Not because it was funny, because it perfectly summarises this man. Highly experienced pilot, excellent combat instincts, can dismantle a hostile formation under pressure, cannot remember to put fucking missiles on the ship before leaving port. Then Voss himself turned into another strange case of combat AI enlightenment and mostly sat there in his Gemini while Jambrick dismantled him from outside effective retaliation range. So the commander did what any psychologically healthy pilot would do. He shut down life support, depowered cooling, dumped more power into the weapons, stripped the rear shield, used the M5As to conserve deadbolt ammunition, then finally opened everything and blew the Gemini apart. Contract complete. And now here we are, safe at Seraphim. No dramatic rescue, no hull held together by electrical tape, no medical emergency, no devil's luck arriving halfway through with a sentence beginning, "I've got an idea." By our standards, that is almost disturbingly responsible. So for everybody who spent the afternoon hanging around the bridge with us, thanks for tolerating the quieter stretches, the satellite inspections, the stationary pirates, the actual firefight, and Commander Jambrick continuing his lifelong research into how much preparation can be replaced by stubbornness. He'll be going back to work on Black Box after this. That unfinished footage you saw hanging around earlier is still unfinished because apparently videos do not complete themselves despite my repeated suggestions that he threaten the editing software. Today was just a break. A chance to fly, clear the head, shoot a few things, and remember why we keep climbing back into these ships, despite the bugs, the nonsense, the occasionally brain-dead enemies, and the fact that every successful mission somehow convinces Jambrick that his preparation habits are acceptable or not. Commander, before we shut down, I want one thing permanently entered into the ship's operational record. Rest stock. The fucking missiles? There. Official documentation. Good stream. Commander, you survived again. Statistically offensive bastard. Nova out.